Hey everyone, back again with another deep dive, and this time it's all about something that I think a lot of you out there will connect with.
Oh, yeah? What's that?
So you know that feeling when you're really trying hard to level up your English listening skills, but it's just
Yeah,
kind of feels like you're hitting a wall.
definitely, definitely.
I've totally been there, and I'm guessing a lot of our listeners have too. But what if I told you there's like a way to make some serious progress with your listening
Mm-hmm.
and actually have fun doing it?
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
All right, so today we're going to deep dive into using movies and music to boost your listening comprehension.
Interesting.
I know, right? Sounds a little too good to be true.
I was gonna say,
I was super skeptical at first, too. I mean, because rewatching Finding Nemo for the, 100th time actually
yeah.
be the key to fluency?
Well, it might actually surprise you. There's some really fascinating research out there that supports this idea. You see, music and movies, they kind of engage our brains in ways that, traditional learning methods just don't.
Oh, really?
Yeah, music, for example, it helps us tune into the rhythm and stress patterns of English, almost like you're unlocking a secret code to pronunciation.
Huh, okay.
And then movies, those give you that real world context. You actually get to see how people are using the language naturally.
Okay, yeah, I'm starting to see where you're going with this. It's like when you hear a catchy phrase in a song, and suddenly it just clips, and you understand it even before you've seen it written down anywhere.
Exactly. That's the magic of it, making those connections between sound and meaning. It's almost like learning a dance. You got to feel the rhythm and the steps before you can really move confidently.
I like that analogy. Okay, so let's say I'm totally sold on this idea. How do I actually go about choosing the right movies and music? Should I just dive headfirst into the latest action flick, or try to decipher a Kendrick Lamar rap verse?
Well, while I admire your enthusiasm, I think it's important to start with material that actually matches your skill level.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
Think of it like weight training. You wouldn't start with the heaviest weights right away, would you? You gradually work your way up.
So you're saying my attempt to learn English from that gangster rap song was maybe a tad ambitious?
Just a tad. To begin with, I'd recommend choosing movies or music with clear dialogue and similar language.
Okay, good advice.
Animated films Finding Nemo are actually a great place to start, or even sitcoms like Friends, where the pronunciation is clear and the vocabulary is more everyday.
Okay, that makes total sense. What about music? Are we talking Taylor Swift or something a little more, shall we say, classic?
When it comes to music, you'll want to stick with slower, more lyrical songs to start with.
Okay.
Think of Adele's Hello or John Lennon's Imagine. Those kinds of songs give you that space to really focus on individual words and phrases without being overwhelmed by a rapid-fire flow of lyrics.
So it's all about finding that sweet spot, something challenging enough to keep me engaged, but not so difficult that I want to chuck my headphones across the room in frustration.
You got it. You want to feel stretched, not completely out of your depth.
Okay, so we've got our movie popcorn and our curated playlists ready to go. But just hit and play isn't going to magically make me fluent, right? I have a feeling there's more to it than just passively watching and listening.
You're absolutely right. The key here is active engagement. It's not enough to just let the sounds wash over you. You need to actively listen and interact with the material. Think of it as a dialogue, not a monologue.
All right, so how do we actually put this active listening into practice? Let's start with movies. I've heard subtitles can be helpful, but I'm honestly not sure how to use them effectively.
Subtitles can be a fantastic tool, but yeah, there's definitely a strategy to it. Instead of just leaving English subtitles on the whole time, try this watch with subtitles in your native language first to just get the gist of the plot and characters. Then rewatch with English subtitles, focusing on connecting the written words to what you're hearing.
Okay, I see.
And finally, challenge yourself to watch without any subtitles at all, relying solely on your listening skills.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Kind of like a tiered approach. But what about those moments when I come across a sentence that just completely throws me off? Should I rewind and listen to it a million times?
Absolutely. Don't be afraid to pause, rewind, repeat those tricky sentences. In fact, mimicking the pronunciation is one of the best ways to improve your own speaking skills. It's like having a personal language coach right there on your screen.
I like that. Okay, so it's about really breaking those complex sentences down and getting to grips with the sounds. Any other tips for maximizing our movie learning experience?
One thing that can be incredibly helpful is keeping what I call a language learner's lexicon. Basically, a notebook where you jot down any interesting expressions or idioms you come across. It's like building your own personalized dictionary of English in action.
That's a great idea. I can already picture myself whipping out my little notebook during a movie night and impressing my friends with my new vocabulary.
And speaking of impressing your friends, let's shift gears to music. Now that you've curated your perfect playlist, what are some active listening techniques we can use to make the most of those lyrical gems?
Okay, I'm all ears. Let's unlock the secrets to musical language learning. Okay, so we've talked about choosing the right movies and music, and even touched on active listening, but can we get a little more hands-on here? Can you, like, walk me through how to actually break down a movie scene or a song? Like, to really squeeze out all that language learning goodness?
Absolutely. Let's take that Finding Nemo scene we mentioned earlier, where Marlin's asking for directions. Remember how he says, "Excuse me, sir, do you know how to get to P. Sherman, 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney?"
Yeah, I could practically hear it now. Poor, stressed out Marlin. But how can we, like, turn this into a language learning moment?
Okay, so instead of just hearing the whole sentence, try parsing it out into small chunks. So like, "Excuse me, sir," is a polite way to get someone's attention. Then, "Do you know how to get to?" is a really common phrase for asking for directions. And then finally, you have that specific address, P. Sherman, 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney.
Oh, okay. So it's like we're dissecting the sentence, understanding each piece before putting it all back together.
Precisely. And while you're at it, pay attention to Marlin's intonation. Like, notice how his voice rises slightly at the end of "Do you know how to get to?" That rising intonation. Super common in questions in English.
Ah, so that's how I can tell if someone's asking me something, even if I don't catch every single word.
Exactly. It's all about picking up on those subtle cues. And these principles, they totally apply to music as well. Okay, let's take a line from Imagine by John Lennon. "Imagine all the people living life in peace."
Beautiful lyrics. But how do we, like, break those down for language learning?
You can start by pinpointing the keywords, like imagine, people, living, life, peace, and then consider the overall message. Lennon is painting this picture of a world where everyone is just coexisting harmoniously.
So it's about grasping not just the literal words, but also, like, the deeper meaning and the emotions behind them.
Right on. And don't forget about the power of singing along. It's seriously such a fun way to practice your pronunciation and internalize the rhythm of the language.
Haha. I'm starting to think language learning should just come with a karaoke machine.
Maybe it should. The more you engage with the language in this way, the more natural it will start to feel.
Okay, so to recap, we've learned that movies and music can be like these powerful tools for language learning, because they engage our brains differently than traditional methods do.
And we've also talked about choosing the right material, right? Starting with something that matches your skill level.
Yep, and we uncovered the magic of active listening techniques, like using subtitles strategically, breaking down sentences, and like tuning into intonation.
By applying all these techniques consistently, you can totally transform your movie nights and music sessions into these awesome language learning opportunities.
It's really about making language learning a fun and integrated part of your life.
Exactly. And who knows, you might even discover some new favorite movies and songs along the way.
Now, all this talk about movies and music has me wondering, could this approach, like, change how we think about education as a whole?
That's a really intriguing thought. If we can, harness the power of entertainment to make learning more engaging and effective. I mean, what other possibilities might be out there? Could we use video games to teach history or virtual reality to explore different cultures?
Whoa, those are some seriously cool ideas. It's like we're just, like, scratching the surface of what's possible when we start thinking outside of that traditional classroom box.
Absolutely. And the best part is anyone can explore these possibilities. You don't need a fancy degree or expensive equipment. Just curiosity, a willingness to experiment, and a love of learning.
I love that. It reminds me that learning is this lifelong journey, and there are endless ways to make it fun and fulfilling.
Exactly. As you continue on your language learning adventure, embrace the joy of discovery. Don't be afraid to try new things, make mistakes, and just celebrate your progress.
That's such great advice. So listeners, what are some of your favorite movies and songs for learning English? Share them with us on social media. Let's keep the conversation going. And hey, if you have any of those aha moments, like when you finally nail that tricky line in your favorite song, we want to hear about it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Tag us in your post and let's celebrate those wins together.
Those little victories, those are what keep us going. They remind us that progress is totally possible, and no matter where we are on our language learning journey.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up our deep dive into language learning with movies and music, I want to leave you with this thought.
Okay, I'm listening.
Don't underestimate the power of entertainment to fuel your learning.
I like that.
It's not just about passively watching or listening.
Right. It's about really...
It's about actively engaging with the material, breaking it down.
Yeah, making those connections.
And most importantly, having fun along the way.
Exactly. Having fun is key.
So go forth, language learners.
Yes.
Embrace the world of movies and music.
Unlock the joy of learning a new language.
Until next time.
Happy learning, everyone!